If you tuned into my review for Red Lights, you would have saw at the end of that review that I revealed what today's review was going to be. Which, after I turned that random wheel, it gave me this. The Lord of the Rings 1, otherwise known as the Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah, I've never once reviewed any of the Lord of the Rings films on my channel before. I've never used my current rating scale when rating them, so this is definitely going to be interesting. Let's get going. The Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, is a story that you already know. You've probably already seen it, but just in case you've been living under a rock, it stars Elijah Wood as Frodo, a hobbit that's just been given a hefty burden, as Gandalf the Grey has just given him the One Ring. A ring of power that was built from pure evil, and Frodo has to take this ring into the fires of Mount Doom. But before he can do that, he first has to create a fellowship that can help him get there first. This won't be an easy task, however, as there are many operatives of Sauron. There's evil wizards, evil orcs, wraiths, and other creatures of darkness that are there to stop Frodo from completing his mission. And his only hope of surviving this entire ordeal is the Fellowship of the Ring. So before I go on with the review, I want to once again remind you to stick around for the ending of the review, where I'll reveal what my next randomly selected review is going to be. You don't want to miss it, so stick around for that. But let's go on with my review for Fellowship of the Ring. When you think about all the movies that have come out of this Middle-earth saga, you got all the Lord of the Rings films, you got all of the Hobbit films. A lot of them are great, especially the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And it's been a while since I've seen them all, but I'd be surprised to see anything beat the Fellowship of the Ring, which is just the perfect series opener for anything. I've long held the belief that if Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, isn't the greatest adventure story ever told, it's at least the best fantasy adventure story ever told. Now that mostly revolves around the entire story that's seen in the trilogy as a whole, but the Fellowship of the Ring is self-contained. It has its own story within that bigger picture. And that's basically introducing you to all of these characters, their rich backgrounds, and just kind of trying to stay away from the bad guys. In this film, I think it was more so the wraiths than anything else. But of course, there are orcs, there are evil wizards, and things of the nature. But honestly, the real reason why you watch this film is for the characters. When I think about the Hobbit series, there's stuff I like about it, but the fact that it was like all dwarves, it didn't work for me, and they all started to blend in together. You cannot say the same about the Fellowship of the Ring. You remember each one. All the hobbits. You got Frodo, you got Samwise, you got Merry and Pippin. For the men, you got Aragorn and Boromir. Of course, there's Gandalf, there's Gimli, there's Orlando Bloom, because I can never remember Elf's name for some reason. So sue me. But regardless, you remember the characters so much. 20 years after the fact, and they're still as memorable as they were back then. Today. But really, when you think about Lord of the Rings as a whole, you do think about all these things, and this is true for each film. It's one of the best adventure stories ever told. It's one of the best action epics ever seen. It's one of the best MacGuffins ever created, the One Ring. It's one of the best displays of diverse characters and also their chemistry together. It's one of the best film settings. New Zealand. You think about New Zealand, and at least for me, I think about Lord of the Rings. I think about Middle-earth. And I know that other films have taken place in New Zealand and everything, but I'm sorry, I can't think about New Zealand without thinking Lord of the Rings. Similarly to Hawaii and Jurassic Park. It's just so iconic, and the world building in transforming New Zealand into Middle-earth and all the different cities within it, like Rivendell and the Shire and Bree and all these different places, it transforms what exists in real life into what's fictional. And they do such a remarkable job. When you watch the movie, you're not thinking about, oh, that's this one place in New Zealand. Even if you're from New Zealand, I don't see you thinking that. It's just made so well and shot so well, the cinematography, the editing, the music. This film is flawless in nearly every single aspect. The only aspect that's not perfect anymore is maybe visuals, because sometimes the visuals can feel a little bit aged. It has been 20 years. Yet, when the visuals aren't the best, it's still forgivable because everything else is executed flawlessly. The performances are crazy good. You do not see these actors even though you're familiar with them as actors. You see their characters. I'm just having a hard time truly finding anything bad about The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, because it's not bad. It's perfect, at least nearly, okay? It's not exactly perfect. It might have been back in 2001, but in 2022, things have aged here and there, but only by barely. Again, it's barely noticeable. That's why when I look at my end score for The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, you're gonna find it nearly perfect as well at an A+ letter grade, 98%. 98 out of 100 possible stars. Only 2 out of 100 possible stars lower than it could be, and that mostly has to do with the visuals. Like I said, it has aged visuals here and there, but honestly it also has other visuals that are fantastic. Obviously in set design and production design, hair, makeup, costume design, all that goes into visuals, and all that's fantastic. There's just visual effects that aren't always up to snuff. But as promised, let's take a look at what I'm going to be reviewing next. Tomorrow, maybe. Pitch Black. So if you're unsure of what Pitch Black is the first film in a trilogy that you might know better as The Chronicles of Riddick, one of Vin Diesel's famous franchises. So we'll be taking a look at that soon, possibly tomorrow. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handles on Twitter are IAMDWG, so IAMDWG. On Instagram, it's Interpreting the Stars, all one word. Because on Twitter and on Instagram, I like to post some quick initial thoughts on films before I post a full review on YouTube as well. But anyways, guys, let me know what you thought about The Fellowship of the Ring in the comments section down below. What is your favorite Middle-earth film? And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to be notified when I come out with my next review, which should be Pitch Black, unless it's something else, obviously. And until then, peace out.